I have for 1248. And how about for 1482? I will have to do that as well. So copy it, select this one, select to copy, put for, let's say, group currency for 1482 and say area does not post. Enter, save it. So how many parallel currency here, how many additional currencies I've created for a group? I've created 3 because I've got one gap, another one is 1248, another one is 1482. So it means I've got 3 accounting principles. So I have created those many parallel depreciation areas.
So Nanda, that goes with the hard currency too, because we have not
But
defined the hard currency.
yes, I will tell you that part. So you have any questions until group currency? Right. Just save it. Now, since we have added group currencies, this is a group currency. So since we have group currencies, we have to do additionally another step before we assign it to our company code. So let us say that going back here, closing this, we have general valuation. Okay, here parallel, there is one node for currencies. Expand that and you can see one called specify the use of parallel currencies. Remember this step, the earlier copying option, these two steps are coming up only when you are using parallel currencies. If you don't have the parallel currency concept, you don't require to do this. You don't require these two steps additionally.
Yeah, Nanda.
Mm.
But the system requires parallel currency.
System requires
I said, but the system will require parallel currencies, correct?
foreign currencies. What I'm trying to tell you here is if at all you have any parallel currencies, only in the case of parallel currencies, we will have to do these two steps. That foreign currency thing, the transaction will happen as usually. We don't require additional steps for that except OB08 related stuff, which we have seen earlier. That is a common for every kind of transaction. Now my point is specific to the asset accounting. In the asset accounting, firstly we will have to see whether we have any parallel currencies, so accordingly we will have to maintain. If you don't have parallel currencies, these two steps are not required. Got it?
So the group currency and the hard currency, that considered as a parallel currency.
Exactly.
Okay.
Now coming to this, specify use of parallel currencies. Path for this is IMG, financial accounting, asset accounting, general valuation, currencies. Specify the use of parallel currencies, just execute. Now here you have got these three, these three for hard currencies. I mean, sorry, group currency, right? So you need to select the relevant here. Our group currency is 30. 30. So let's see 30 over here, and here also I will say 30. Okay. So now the first one is something relating to this one, right? The first one. Clear? Okay. So One important point here is uh, which depreciation area did we consider for 1248 and 1482? I'm sorry, I don't remember that. I'm not saving anything now. I'm going back to find out that information. We need that information. So copy reference. I'm going back to the same. Double click on depreciation areas 1248. Here 40 and 80. 80 for 14, 1248, 40 for 1482. We need to remember this point. Okay. 40, 1482, 18, 80, 1248. Go back and we go back to the same specify use of parallel currencies. And here, this is group currency. Group currency. I'm selecting the same group currency. Now, the important is for 40, it is 1482, right? So it means the fourth one, we are maintaining it for 1482, right? Now here in the fourth, this is what the important step. Now if you select over here, this is called area, right? And this process, this is what we call it as values adoption. We call it as value adoption. Okay, so some name, I mean value adoption. So which values do you want to adopt for this depreciation area? We should have some values to be adapted. If you see over here, you can have for every depreciation area you have one, right? You have some value adoption. You have some value which you are adapting. Right. Now the point here is for fourth, it is this one, right? 40 is the depreciation area for 1482, and for 1482 we have created 4, or you can consider 3, whatever it is, it's not a problem. But the one which you want to consider here, you will have to select the relevant depreciation area. Whether you want the fourth one to be considered 40 or 80, you can select that accordingly. Similarly, third is the parallel depreciation area created for 80. So select 80 over here. Okay, this is what we call it as value adoption. It means from where the value has to be calculated. It means whatever the depreciation I have here, this is in my local currency. Now my local currency, let's say USD. My group currency, let's say Euro. Now in our, while calculating the system for this group currency, which is nothing but Euro, the USD amount, whatever the USD amount we have here, the depreciation, that will be considered for converting into Euro. Similarly for 3, we are not going to use the same. If it is the same, it is no point in creating this, because the value of 2, value of 3 going to be the same. Now here in the case of 3, the adoption value is insurance. You may have a different depreciation rate for this, so that you will have a different amount of depreciation. That amount will be posted in local currency. Now this local currency amount will be considered converted into group currency, which is Euro. That is the meaning. Similarly for fourth, it is this one 40. Any questions? Okay. The next we have is identical APC, acquisition production cost. So do you want to consider identical value? So identical value means You will be copying the values, original values, the original value of the asset from one. Then you will be selecting identical. It means whatever the original value that has for one before considering the depreciation, you want to consider the same thing even for two. Yes, you want to consider whatever the asset value we have. APC means acquisition and production cost. Whatever APC value that is showing for 80, do you want to consider even for these three? Yes. Whatever we have for 40, you want to consider for 4? Yes, select the same thing. This is called identical APC. The next we have is transfers. Okay, transfer of, here you can see transfer of depreciation terms. The terms, in the sense, there are some certain conditions in the depreciation. Do you want to copy the same thing? If you want to copy the same thing, which is going to be your depreciation, which one you want to consider? For two, we are considering one. Whatever are we considering here, the same thing has to be considered. If you consider the cross, it means one here, 40 or 80 here, then your calculations will go wrong. Okay, whatever we have here, the same thing has to be considered. So similarly, here 80, the terms relating to the 80 will be considered even for 3. The term 40 will be considered for 4. Okay, this is what we call it as transfer depreciation terms. The next we have identical term. So we want to consider identical. It means we are copying the same terms, whatever we have this. It means we have one is nothing but area, depreciation area 1. Whatever the terms that we have for 1, we are considering the same thing for 2, which is the reason why we are selecting identical terms. And in the case of third, we will be considering 80. Select the same thing. And in the case